Hello everybody and welcome back to Davidian Productions. It's been a while, hasn't it? What, July was my last video? I'm super sorry, guys. First my computer crashed, and then I had to go on vacation, and then I had to do school, and just ask Godzilla Mendoz, school's not fun right now. But I'm happy to be back. So, this week I've got for you a little video about guilty pleasures. A couple of weeks ago, I was asked if I was going to make another top 5 list. Well, a couple weeks ago when I wrote this script, a couple months ago now. Hey, you know what? I'm desperate for views, so why not? But I didn't want to make an all-time favorite movie list. There is no way that any movie is the best movie of all time. Not even Citizen Kane. It's completely unfair to say that any movie is the best over any other. I won't do it. It defeats the whole point of movies being subjective pleasures. So I'm going to do something much more embarrassing instead. After 2 straight reviews where I talk about how stupid everyone else is for liking stupid things, I'm going to talk about how much I'm an idiot who likes stupid things too. Thus, this is my list of top 7 guilty pleasures, ranked in how embarrassing it is to admit that I like them. First of all, what is a guilty pleasure? A guilty pleasure is the movie, as opposed to a good bad movie where I like it because it's bad. It's a movie where I like it despite the fact that it's bad. I know it's bad, but I like it anyway. These are movies that I will complain about to my friends all day long. But at the same time, if any of these are on TV, I will watch them. Number 7, Batman vs. Superman. Dawn of Justice. I liked this movie. I did. It's bad, but I liked it. Not ironically either. I think that there were some really great scenes, good writing, and interesting subtext in this movie. But the reason why this movie is so low is that I think there's a large subset of comic book fans who agree with me. So I'm not in the minority here. And it is an interesting movie to watch because it represented the first instance where critics, namely aggregators like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, largely diverged from public opinion. It's an ongoing discussion with movies like Ghostbusters, The Legend of Tarzan, X-Men Apocalypse, and now Suicide Squad. But back to Justice League, Dawn of Batman and Superman or something. I think the biggest problem with this movie is that there's way too much happening for just one movie. This movie could have been an amazing TV show, but screenwriter Chris Terrio was a little bit too ambitious and crammed way too much in for just one movie. But all the elements are really good on their own. For example, they did a really good job portraying Wonder Woman as more than just a token woman. And Ben Affleck's Batman was a revelation. You see, normally, an actor who plays Batman is either really good as Bruce Wayne or really good as Batman. Affleck is the first actor since Michael Keaton to set a solid balance between the two sides of Batman's character. I don't even mind Michael Cera as Lex Luthor. I think that a new take on Lex Luthor to reflect a new state of corporate culture is really engaging. And it is the exciting beginning of the DC movie universe, the first real competition that Disney Marvel has had. Sorry, Fox, you're small potatoes. But then I remember that Lois Lane had more lines than Superman, and then I scream at the end because all they had to do for Superman to live was to hand the spear to Wonder Woman, and all their problems would have been solved. Then they wouldn't have had to revive him in Justice League, which is all but confirmed at this point to happen. It's like they tried to make a Batman movie, a Wonder Woman movie, a Superman movie, a Lois Lane movie, all at the same time, while at the same time pondering the place of superheroes as gods or men. It's way too much for anyone at once. And if you're wondering if that's true, just ask Chris Terrio. He'll tell you. Number 6, Transformers.
This looks like a cool place to kick it.
Yes, I know that we've all decided to collectively condemn Michael Bay's Transformers saga as the worst thing since Hitler. But hear me out. This movie's bad. Really bad.
Hey, man. Oh, don't be like that. If I had a rock, I'll bust your head, bitch. Say, man, she deaf, you know?
But there's a fun and a joy in Transformers that, at least in my mind, redeems the awful story and characters. The problem is that the flaws in the later movies are all here in the first one. They're just not as bad as they would get. Let's run down the list. Cringeworthy jokes.
Shut up, Grandma! What are you doing here?
Just give me a break, will you?
Grandma, drink your prune juice!
Check. Ambiguously racist Autobots.
This looks like a cool place to kick it.
Check. Porny shots of Megan Fox or Megan Fox Light. Check. At its best, there's an earnestness to it that isn't present in the later movies. At least it has some self-awareness to its stupidity. You see, it's the ratio of fun to cringe that's different. While the new Transformers movies have 1 cool moment to 4 cringeworthy moments, the old film had 1 cringeworthy moment to 4 good moments. Considering that this movie is basically everything that's wrong with Hollywood today, I should hate it more, but I can't. It's fun. Number 5, Star Trek 2009.
Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including yours.
Yes. No, I've already talked about this movie. Check it out here. But it's not that bad of a movie. Once I put aside my inner Trekkie, I can enjoy watching this stupid action movie. The characters are well acted, they're well written, the action is pretty great, and the special effects are incredible. Star Trek has never looked this good. The soundtrack is amazing. Everything technically proficient is very well done, and the script is serviceable. So why is this such a guilty pleasure? Well, simply put, it's a Star Trek movie. I just can't completely throw aside my Star Trek fandom and pretend that all the insults and changes against the franchise I love don't exist. If I look at it as a film, it's fine. But I can't do that. Star Trek isn't about dumb action. It's about working to a better future. It's about how we will never escape our problems, but together we can surpass them. There was so much intelligence and love put into the old shows and some of the old films, and all of it was thrown away for dumb sci-fi action. Again, if I turn off my brain, I can enjoy that, but I shouldn't have to do that, even in a guilty pleasure. Number 4, Bean the Movie.
Brace yourself.
What? It's good. I love Mr. Bean. He's hilarious. I love his sitcom. Electrical engineer from Oxford turned comedian Rowan Atkinson, that's true by the way, is genius as this character. I love the simplicity and straightforward jokes of the BBC sitcom. Mr. Bean doesn't need a plot. He's just a fun character like Tom and Jerry or something. So, when it came to make a Mr. Bean movie, the first thing they did was give it a plot.
Genius!
The Mr. Bean movie isn't really about Mr. Bean. No. That would make sense. It's about an art curator who is struggling to balance his career and his family life. Oh, and Mr. Bean shows up and mugs for the camera every now and then. But don't worry, he doesn't have that much screen time. And, of course, they had to pull the misunderstanding revealed at the worst time plot device from every movie ever made. Not to mention the character goes to America plot. It is the most cliche premise you could ever imagine. And this is a common thing amongst co-writer and producer Richard Curtis's films. He makes the most cliched movies ever, like About Time, or Love Actually, or whatever else he's made. But behind those cliches is a bit of sincerity. You get the feeling that Richard Curtis, when he wrote these awful scripts, really believed in these awful scripts. Plus, the Mr. Bean stuff we get is pretty darn funny. At least when it isn't being unfunny. Number 3, Flushed Away. Embarrassing admittance number 100 million. I have to admit that I have a soft spot in my heart for shitty British comedy, and even more so to stop motion. I have an undying loyalty to Aardman Animations, one of the few stop motion studios out there making movies, and one of the few that's actually profitable. Looking at you, Leica. This particular film is computer generated, and that's probably because Aardman's warehouse is full of all those props burned down right before this movie was about to be made. Anyway, going with the theme of the Mr. Bean movie, it's a really cliche premise. Basically, close your eyes and imagine the most cliche animated movie you've ever seen. Open your eyes, it's this movie. Every single thing that happens in this movie is predictable. But how they go about that cliche is the entertaining part. The humor and the visuals are incredibly unique. No other movie has this style of animation, stolen from Aardman alum Nick Park's work on Wallace and Gromit. And the humor is quintessentially British. It's not the quick and overwhelming style pioneered by Edgar Wright. It's the slower, more methodical British humor that originated in sitcoms like Are You Being Served and Keeping Up Appearances. Boy, I really do like a bunch of shitty British sitcoms. The humor and the animation, along with some pretty stellar voice work, elevate this substandard material to be a little bit more highbrow than it originally was. Gotta love Ian McKellen. Still, this is a very embarrassing movie to admit that I like because of how much I claim to hate animation and all the cliches in this movie, while I love this movie for having all those cliches. I think this is what a guilty pleasure is, if you'll allow me to define it 10 minutes into the video or whatever, however far this is in. Number 2, Pacific Rim.
In order to fight monsters, we created monsters of our own.
You know, I don't think I'm stirring up much controversy by liking this movie. It's pretty well loved in certain circles. China just happens to be one of them, and that's why we're getting a sequel. Oh, China, you are both Hollywood's best friend and worst enemy. You can determine a film's success at a whim, and only few films survive the curse of no China release. Pacific Rim is an American monster movie directed by Spanish native Guillermo del Toro of Pan's Labyrinth fame, starring mostly British actors inspired by Japanese Toho movies produced by a Chinese-owned, American-run production company, and set in a Chinese city. There's some real culture clash going on here, but it works. It's a fun, dumb movie that feels like the best parts of 80s cheese fests mixed with Toho monster movies brought to life by the best visual effects can do, and a master monster movie fetishist at the helm. By the way, the reason this movie is set in Hong Kong and not Shanghai is that the only city that is allowed to be destroyed on film, according to Chinese regulations, is Hong Kong. Blow up Hong Kong, you're fine. Blow up Shanghai, no release. That's why Transformers 4 was set in Hong Kong too, by the way. I mean, the writing is just incredibly lazy. It's barely even there. I think that they sell spec scripts like this for action movies at Walmart or something. Just fill in the blanks. The characters, with the notable exceptions of Idris Elba and that Asian lady who hasn't been anything that I've seen, are cardboard cutouts of cardboard cutouts. The Australian characters, who aren't even played by Australian actors, are beyond stereotypical. They're cartoons. And don't get me started on the scientists who fit in more as co-workers of Professor Farnsworth than actual credible scientists. The main character struggles so hard to hide his British accent that he forgets to act. He just goes through the whole movie on a monotone. The movie doesn't even work on a logical perspective. Even if you buy the whole giant robots play Rock'em Sock'em robots with alien monsters thing, the basic world building they make is completely nonsensical. Take the scene where they say that the monsters are genetically identical. What? You said that they look different! And genes determine how organisms look. So if they have identical DNA, they have identical appearances. Didn't you even pay attention in freshman biology? This is so basic. The action scenes also bug me. I've noticed this same pattern reoccurring in a number of Guillermo del Toro scripts. The characters and their abilities greatly vary on the demands of the plot. A Jaeger, or whatever dumb name for the robots are, may defeat a kaiju, or whatever the dumb name for the monsters are, in one scene, but in the next scene it's torn to shreds because the plot demands some tension. For another example of this, look at the Hobbit trilogy, which del Toro also had a hand in writing and was at one time attached to direct. But when that theme starts playing and the robots start fighting and Idris Elba starts Idris Elba-ing all over the place, it's so glorious and so fun and so dumb. I just have to turn on my mind to enjoy this. I don't like doing that, but I have been known to do it from time to time. And this is one of those movies. Number 1. Oh boy, this is really embarrassing. Here we go. Race to Witch Mountain. Nope. Not the original. The remake. Yep. Nothing I can say will justify this one. It's fun! It's dumb, but fun! Dwayne Johnson stars as Dwayne Johnson in this movie where he's a taxi driver who picks up a couple of kids who happen to be aliens. Hijinks ensue. This movie just gets so delightfully kooky and off the wall. They drive a taxi on train tracks and get chased by a discount Predator T-1000 clone, and turns out the bad child actors have superpowers. And did you know that guy from Hunger Games stole his powers from Kitty Pryde and that girl is watered down Jean Grey? It's pretty cliche and it's terribly trite, but there's something so goofy about this terrible script. They even go to a UFO convention to find an expert to help them out in real-life aliens, and it's so glorious! It's as if Tony Stark went to Comic-Con as Iron Man and went to a panel on cosplaying about how to build an Iron Man suit to get tips on his next design. The script for this movie is just so awful, but a good mixture of action, Dwayne Johnson, good direction, Dwayne Johnson, a gleeful abandonment of all logic and reason, and Dwayne Johnson. This movie transcends its awful script to be actually pretty fun in a self-aware sci-fi movie kind of way. It does drag on occasion, and the bad guy's played by professional villain in cheesy Disney movies, Ciarán Hinds. I don't care if I'm saying that wrong. Is just a stick in the mud to the rest of the movie's silly tone. He takes this movie way too seriously, and way more seriously than I think anyone intended. I'm really embarrassed to admit that I like this movie because, again, common theme in this list, It stands for everything that I don't like as an informed moviegoer and amateur critic. Pointless remake? Check. Special effects distracting from story? Check. Terrible underwritten script? Check. But its enthusiasm and is just so infectious that I can't help but being caught along for the ride. Lastly, why should I do this list at all? Well, simply put, I wanted to show you something about me. I'm just like all you guys. I like stupid things for no adequate explanation. Most of why I like or don't like a movie is, simply put, illogic. And that's okay, because that's what art is. Illogic. It doesn't have to follow rules. It doesn't have to follow guidelines. The only reason that there are rules in filmmaking, aside from the technical ones, is so that you know when to break them and why to break them. So, if you like something and you can't explain why, there's nothing wrong with you. Or at least, the same thing's wrong with me too. Go ahead. Like those stupid, silly films. Just as long as they make you smile.